Hi guys. Okay, so we're going to use that penne pasta that Tim quickly shot a quick glance at while we were doing our breads. But first I want to show you the breads are out. And here they are in their containers. So all we do is flip them. And we're going to flip this one. Then we peel the tops off, the backs off of them. And invert them again. Voila. There we go. Oops. So there you go. Really what's supposed to happen is you're only supposed to have enough parchment to cover the bottom, but I always just stuck it in there, and it does make a little deformity here and there. But they're beautiful loaves, as you can see, beautiful loaves of bread. And here's our frosting, but we're not putting any of it on until after they're completely cooled, so that's like later on tonight. I'll put that on there. And it decorates them very well. It's beautiful. So there are your breads and your frosting. So today we're going to make something called ham and Swiss. I'm over here. Ham and Swiss baked penne. He's playing with a cat, and so he's like, you know, you're videoing something crazy. It's called ham and Swiss baked penne. I'm using Swiss and cheddar cheese because that's what it calls for. But I'm going to say right off the bat, once you've made this straight on, or it's just like any other kind of macaroni and cheese, I suppose, use your favorite, whatever you like. If you want to make it straight on the way you do so you can see what it tastes to start with, and then you can use pepper jack, you can use, you know, some really serious, like Colby is a mild cheddar, but you can use sharp cheddar, whatever makes you happy. But they're suggesting, because it's called ham and Swiss, because usually you make a ham and Swiss sandwich, a ham and Swiss, so it's doing a ham and Swiss. Before we do, I wanted to show you something. You remember along in our whole theme of never wasting anything, I had that chicken I cooked up a couple days ago, and in that chicken was the little necks and the heart and the 2 livers. And so tonight I cooked that up, and that's for the dogs and the cats. So you don't waste anything. You don't have to throw anything away by any means. So here we go. This is a really fun, quick recipe. The first thing is I'm going to melt this butter down very quickly. And, oh, I put too much of the burner on, probably too big. Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to quickly melt this down, and you're going to start it like any other macaroni and cheese. If you remember, we did macaroni and cheese, oh God, back in March when we first started, or maybe April. So over here, while that is melting, I've got, that is 3 tablespoons of butter. I've got it where I want it, honey. Don't play with my, okay, don't play with my burners. I got 3 tablespoons of butter doing its thing, and here's 3 tablespoons of flour. They don't ask for this, but I'm gonna, because I've made macaroni and cheese forever and I know what I like to do. So I'm gonna throw in a little bit of garlic powder, because I like that, and I do like to have some salt and pepper ahead of time in it. We all know Tim, though. He's gonna pepper it like crazy at the table, but I like to have this flavor in it because I don't salt and pepper at the table, so I like to have it in there ahead of time. So here we go. We're going to start out with, and this is one of those recipes that I had a bunch of milk, and it was starting, and I know in a day or so it's going to go bad, it's going to sour, it's going to whatever. So I have been doing cooking with milk recipes to use up as much milk as I can, because again, we don't waste anything. I actually even have a sour cake recipe in case it does go bad before I'm done with it. So I'm reusing up a lot. This is going to take 2 cups of milk. And it's also actually going to take a cup of half and half. So it's got a lot of milk in it. So here we go. We have our flour, and we're going to start it just like any other macaroni and cheese. We're going to put that in. We're going to make a roux. So we're just going to make this till it's nice and smooth and soft. Yeah, smooth. And then once it's done, see how it's, you're going to incorporate it all together. You don't want any flour or anything on its own. You want to have it all incorporated. So see how I'm trying to get down in there and get it all good. Perfect. Then we take our 2 cups of milk. And I need 1 cup of half and half. When I'm making macaroni and cheese, I never think to use like the half and half or thick heavy cream. I'm glad this recipe is doing this, because it reminds me that, oh yeah, that's right, you can make it creamier and thicker if you use half and half or even heavy cream. So That's really fun. I'm glad that they're doing this for me. So I'm going to leave this going until it starts to boil. Once it boils, we're going to let that boil for 1 to 2 minutes. Once we're waiting for that to boil, and we've got it up there so it will, the one thing you have to do with your pan is they want you to grease it. So I'm just going to take, this time I've got vegetable oil, or you could just do, and my oven's ready. I'm just gonna, it wants a 9 by 11 pan. This one's slightly bigger than 9 by 11, and what is that? I don't know. Slightly, whatever it is, I just pulled it off. Slightly bigger than 9 by 11, so I'm compensating because you want your topping to your mac and cheese, your ham and Swiss bake, your baked penne, your ham and Swiss penne bake, whatever you want to call it. You want it to be evenly coated and covered, so when we make our, as a matter of fact, if you want, we can start, because this isn't boiling yet, we can make our topping, which is sort of running ahead, but our topping that we're going to crumble on it is 1/4 cup of seasoned breadcrumbs, and I did a little bit more of 1/4 on purpose because, again, the pan's a little bit bigger than the size they're asking for, and I don't want to have any part of it that doesn't have any topping on it. And it is 1/4 cup of Parmesan. Now Tim loves real Parmesan, does not like this kind of Parmesan. He does not like it at all to be something that he knows we're using, so I'm sure he's sitting here. I'm not even going to look up at his face because I'm pretty sure I'm going to see it grimacing. He only likes me to buy real Parmesan, which I've done over and over again, but it goes bad so fast when it's real that I've had to throw more away than I could use. So, and that, by the way, was 2 tablespoons of butter underneath there. So 2 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 and 1/4. And we're just going to make that absorb the melted butter, because that's what I started with, was the 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And we're supposed to just sprinkle that across the top. So I must have added, I knew I added a little extra butter. And did you turn the burner off? Or, yeah, just, no. I'm going to add a little bit more because I feel like it's still a little bit wet from adding more butter, so I could have a little bit more for the area, the extra area I'm using in that pan. So there you go. So I'm going to crumble that on the top when we're done. Normally, if you're using the right size pan, it's 2 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 of the seasoned breadcrumbs, any kind of, I just happen to have 4C, the panko. I always have all kinds of breadcrumbs all over the place in that cupboard of mine, so I can use them for different things. This is almost ready to boil, and when it boils, we are going to, we want it to thicken, so it's going to take 1 to 2 minutes. And then we're going to add in our cheeses until they melt. Again, today I've used what they've asked for, which was 1 1/2 cup of Swiss and 1/2 cup, what they call it, Colby, or just basically mild cheddar. So, yeah. So now we're sort of waiting for this to boil. Sorry guys, waiting. Yeah, it was too small of a burner before, so it should have been boiling by now. I've turned the other one back on. Should boil any time. So normally when I'm making macaroni and cheese, when I'm making my roux for macaroni and cheese, I always do, and you saw when we taped this back in, like it was April or something, I always do, for every cup of milk, always use 2 tablespoons of flour to 2 tablespoons of, every 1 cup equals 2 tablespoons of flour and 2 tablespoons of butter. That's how my rule works. This to me doesn't seem like it's got enough flour or butter for as much milk as in here, so I'm kind of curious. It must have something to do with the fact that it's baked afterwards. So, kind of curious how this is going to go. It actually, in fact, has only a half, or, yeah, about, no, because I had 3 tablespoons and 3, yeah, so it only has half the flour and half of the butter that I would normally be using when I'm making my homemade. So I am very curious how this is going to turn out. So the other night we made no, not the other night, yesterday for lunch I made pea soup, and I had a whole slice of ham that a couple months ago, and I don't remember if we did it in video or not. A couple months ago, Tim and I bought a ham. We bought a whole ham for a fraction of the price that you buy it for when you're buying it as a slice. Because when you buy it as a slice, it's like $8.99 a pound and $9.99 a pound. If you buy a whole ham, you can get the darn thing sometimes, you know, less than $1 a pound. So we bought the whole ham, we brought it home, and we have a meat slicer, and we sliced up our slices. So that was pretty cool. And then we put them in the what's the fresh sealed, whatever it is, vacuum seal. Then we put them in the freezer. So that's how we did this. So we pulled out a piece of ham the other day, and I used a portion of it, but only about maybe a quarter to a third of it I used for pea soup the other day. And then I took the rest of the slice, which happens to be a cup and is it 2 cups? Yeah, it's 2 cups of ham when it's chunked up, cut in chunks like this. And it just happened to come out to the 2 cups that I need for this. So this is supposed to boil for a minute or 2, and while it's boiling I have to keep moving it. I have to keep stirring it. Yeah, come on, baby. There's some boiling coming. There we are. So I'm gonna put on timer 2 and just leave it that way. We're gonna let it do its thing, and I have to stir the whole time. Sorry, we're gonna stir for 2 minutes, guys. There's some really good flavors in here, though. If you think about all the cheeses, we're using Parmesan, and I'm sorry it's not real, and we're using Colby, which is just a mild cheddar, and we're using Swiss. So play with your flavors. Like if you like to have a little bit of heat in your macaroni and cheese, then do some pepper jack, and anything that you would do to adjust your macaroni and cheese, you can do it to adjust this. Just because it's called ham and Swiss baked penne, that's only because they were trying to do the theme of the ham and Swiss, you know, sandwich with cheese. So I think it's kind of cool. I found this one online. When I was looking, I actually Googled ways to use milk so that it wouldn't go bad, you know. So I found this section on the internet. It's 35 recipes to make a lot of milk, to use a lot of milk. And I've got a bunch of them to use in the next few days for you, because I was like, oh, I mean, I don't always want my milk to go, but there's some pretty cool recipes in here. So I'm going to be incorporating them into some of the ones that I already had planned for you. And this was one of them, and I was really quite impressed by it, to be honest with you. So as you can see, I turned it down once, and I'm turning it down again, because even though it's supposed to be boiling, I don't want it to, when I add the cheese to it, I don't want it to scorch or anything. So, and all I'm going to do is leave this on here until the cheese is melted. That's literally all I'm going to do. So I'm moving this back because we're going to be moving this over in a minute. Still feels kind of milky though, doesn't it? But I'm assuming because it's baking that it's going to absorb some of that into the penne. So that's probably why it's allowed to be so runny, because macaroni and cheese is not supposed to be runny. So again, we're making this for the first time together. You know how I love to make recipes for the first time with you. I really enjoy doing that. So I don't know what this is if it's gonna be really good or not when we're done with it. So I'm kind of excited. I love doing new things together. By the way, I had put my cheeses all together. I had bought them in. I didn't have any of these that were already. The only thing I have in the refrigerator that is already like this is mozzarella. So I had to go to the store, and they only had slices, so I used my mandolin and grated them like this. So remembering that this is 1 1/2 cup of Swiss to 1/2 cup of the Colby, or a mild cheddar, however you want to say it. And once this is, and it is, see, it's already all, now we're going to put our ham in there. Whoops. And I don't need to use this anymore because that's only to keep it. I'll get myself a big spoon. One of my favorite big spoons. And here we go. Just toss it to coat it. you can see it's already coated. And so then we're going to transfer it over into our greased baking dish, which I don't know why I'm bringing this over with me. I already know what to do. But anyways, so there's the greased baking dish. I guess I didn't need that spoon either. What I really need is this. My spoonula. Whoever invented spoonulas, genius. Genius. You can get every drop of everything with a spoonula. You can't get it with a spoon. You've always got stuff left over in your pails, your pans, your mixing bowls. Spoonulas, they work like a spatula to clean up, and they have a spoon part to them, so you just don't leave anything behind. Isn't that wonderful? I love them. Anybody ever wants to gift me anything, buy me spoonulas. Drop them off on my door and see it's empty. Love them. And then you're just going to throw your penne in there with it. You're going to stir that up there, get that all worked in. Probably should have done that right in, that would have probably been smarter to do that right in the saucepan, huh, babe?
Super.
Well, I just don't want my ham all in the one place there. And plus, I took the time to grease my pan, but it's not going to be so greased anymore because I'm stirring with it. Lesson learned. Let's make sure we do this in the saucepan instead of in the casserole dish itself. Okay, so here we go. Well, it looks like it's pretty equally distributed, correct? What do you think, babe?
It's good to me.
So then we're just going to go like this. Move that out of our way. And this doesn't bake very long. It oh, here, okay. There you go. And then we're just going to, see, I wanted to move. Well, it's not, we're good. We can still, it just feels like over here was a spot that didn't have any pasta in it. It was just all cheese. Did you see it? There we go. Much smarter. Put it back in that bowl. Okay, and then we're just going to go like this over the top. Just going to crumb it right over the top. This is only going to bake for 15 to 20 minutes. You only want to bake it till it's bubbly. You don't want to bake it because really everything in here is cooked. You don't want to bake it any more than it takes to get it bubbly and get it all warmed and let those flavors incorporate together. If you cook it, then you dry it out, and your wonderful cheesiness that you see that's got all this crazy cheese in every corner, it's going to get dried out in the oven. So you're going to bake it uncovered for 15 to 20 minutes on a 375 oven, and that's it. Bake it uncovered 15 to 20 minutes, all done. So I mean, that's quick. I mean, what did it take us? 10 minutes? What do you think? About 10 minutes or so. Didn't take us very long to throw this together. It's going to bake for 15 to 20 minutes, and I would love to hear from you what you think. Plus, next time I talk to you, I'll tell you what I thought of the flavor too. Again, I love baking something brand new that I found somewhere or that a listener has sent to me. I love it when you guys send me ideas. Mary has sent me more recipes. Mary Bryce Hislop has sent me more recipes, and I've used them on different things, and I've shared them with you when she says I'm allowed to share them with you, and I love that. Keep sending me recipes, keep giving me ideas. And passing today, somebody gave me an idea on something that I might use as well. So yeah, this is fun. Look how great it looks. We're heading into the oven, guys. Come cook with me again tomorrow. Yeah? Bye.